Hello everyone. Welcome to the 9th session of Learn Flutter Together. And we have total of 10 sessions. That means today is the second last. And I will again go through the introduction, and then after that we can start with the topic today. So again, before we start, I want to share the code of conduct. We want to provide an empowering experience for everyone, so we don't tolerate any form of discrimination. So if you witness or experience any kind of discrimination or harassment, please let us know. You can also report to Women Who Code, and we will take a very serious action into this. And then for today, we have we will go through the topic deployment. And if you have joined our previous sessions, we have gone through quite a lot of chapters in the Flutter Apprentice book. So, and if you haven't get the book, you can get it from the website. There's a link that I shared in PTX. So, before we start, if you have not followed us on social media, we are on Facebook. We will post event updates like this on Facebook mostly. And sometimes we also post on Twitter. And finally, our recordings will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So feel free to check it out there. And let's start. So since today we are talking about deployment, so I will be discussing on chapters 16, 17, and 18. They are mostly very, I would say they are not difficult, but there are a lot of steps you might have to follow. So maybe I wouldn't go through each of the steps, but I will be sharing what are the things that you should pay attention to. So let's start from chapter 16. And this chapter is all about assets. So assets are the files, medias that you will want to include in your app. Oh, let me know if you cannot see my screen. I'm sharing my screen now. Yeah, so for chapter 16, we will try to set up the app icon, the app name, and also like a splash screen for the app. So, and then because they are platform specific, so you'll need to do on both iOS and Android if you are deploying to both platforms. And then let's start with the app icon. So for the app icon, so the default icon is the Flutter logo, and you might not want this in your production app. Then how do you customize it? Then you need to check for Android, they have different steps. For iOS, they also have their own. You need to do both. And I think I will not go through the detailed steps here. They actually list down quite details. So as long as you follow the steps, you should be able to do it. And what I want to mention is actually for the app icon, what I like to do is I use the Flutter Launcher icon package. And if you search for that on the pub.dev, then you will find this package. And the good thing about this package is you don't have to repeat all these steps for each platform, like in this case, Android and iOS. You can use this package. It offers a tool that will generate the launcher icons from a single image path that you provide. So like here, you have to include the Flutter launcher icons, in your dev dependency. This you can find in your prospect.yaml file. And under the section Flutter icons, you might not have this section, so you can create one and put under prospect file. And then here you just mention that, okay, for Android, which file name you want to put, and then for iOS, do you want to generate for iOS? If yes, then you put true. Then you just put the image path. So imagine that you have already included this file in your assets folder of your project directory. Then after you have this set up, you just have to run some commands. So on the first run, you should run flutter pub-get because you want to make sure that you have included the new dependency. Then in your terminal, you just need to run this command and then the name of your config file here. And then, yeah, so after you have run this step, and then you run the package command, and you will get the same result as this one at the end of chapter 16.1. So that is one shortcut if you want to make something quick and you don't really care about different resolution of the app icon that you use, because for the package Flutter launcher icon, it will generate for you the different resolutions based on the single image file that you provide. So I would say good and bad with this approach. It's up to you. For me, I normally just go with the package because I don't use like a specific asset that is provided by designer for different resolutions. Then you can just follow that. If you do, then you might want to use the steps here. It's a bit more tedious, but it gives you more flexibility because you can have more configuration and what are the shapes that you want, and then maybe for different resolution you have slightly different variant. So it's up to you. Now I've shown you two different options. And then, yeah, I will just skip this part because there's not much explanation I can do. It's just following the steps. And next we can go to the app's name. So the default name is probably not something that you want, because the default name of the app would be the name of your project directory. So for the app name, if you want to change it, you need to do also quite some work here. And then, of course, it's also platform specific. So in Android, you need to go to the Android manifest file and change the Android label property to the name that you want. And then for the iOS, you can also go to the plist file. You might want to open this with Xcode. And then when you go to the bundle name under the information property list, you can change the name to the same one. And then you will see the result. So this is pretty straightforward. And finally, the launch screen. So for launch screen is the screen that you see when user is opening your app. So some people call that a splash screen. And you can set it natively in iOS and also in Android. So again, different steps you need to do twice if you are configuring on both platforms. So again, some steps here. For iOS, you need to open it with Xcode. And then you go to the assets file and you put in the splash screen image that you want to show. Is a lot of drag and drop here in Xcode. And as long as you follow the steps here, I don't think anything will go wrong. So find your splash image, include under the assets. And then after that, you can try to build the iOS, then you will be able to see your new splash screen. And here it also shows you if you want to have a more sophisticated looking launch UI, there are a few ways to do this, but of course you need to, use Xcode, and then you can go to the view controller scene. Yeah, so the good thing in Flutter project is because it has the native folder for each platform. So you can always do your own customization natively. So in this case, it will be useful for us if we want to customize the launch UI. And yeah, for people who are not familiar with Xcode or who are not an iOS native developer, then this is something to learn. For me, it's also not very straightforward. It took me some time. And then after you have done all these steps, you should be able to get a better aspect ratio on your splash screen. And then after that, you can also replace the title with a label. And here it shows you how to do that. I'm not going to go into details of this part. Yeah, so you can put your own tags if you want to make sure that it fits to the aspect ratio of every device. Then this is a better way instead of using an image that might stretch differently on different screen sizes. So if you want, especially to display text, you might want to consider this way. All right. Yeah, so the end result is your image is in the right aspect ratio and the text is readable on every screen size of iOS in this case. So how about Android? I think Android also involves quite a lot of steps when setting the launch image. You need to put them in the correct folder. First, you go to the XML file that defines the launcher background. And then inside there, you need to put in the correct file name. And this will be the splash image. And after that, you need to make sure that your PNG file is available in the drawer folder, because here in the XML, you are defining, okay, I'm reading from this source, from this folder. So just make sure that you put everything in the right folder. And of course, if you put everything, including text on your image, then it might stretch awkwardly like this. And the second part is it shows you how to define the two-phase launch in Android. First, the first one is the app launch. That means is here it says, yeah, when the user taps on the launcher icon and when the app code starts to execute. And the second phase is between that and when Flutter renders the first frame of the main activity. Of course, these two phases actually happen in a very short time, so user might not notice it, but you can already do customization on each of the phase. And here it just shows you how you can do it. So here you go to the manifest file of Android, then you define, okay, what is the theme? And this will correspond to the launch theme that is already in the styles.xml folder. And then what's inside there is an XML file. And this is defining, okay, what is the background that I want to show. So here the resource is the launch background file. Yes, and because there is the tool phase, so you can define a loading background, and you will see the result. Let's see. Yeah. So you follow the steps here, and then after that you will get your launch screen, and you also have the placeholder image before the app before the app loads. So that is about the splash screens in both iOS and also Android. Yeah, so I think we are at the end of chapter 16. Actually, there's not much here. It's about preparing your app for production, because you want to make sure that you have a custom app icon, a custom app name, and also the splash screens. And because they are platform specific, you need to set the assets and also do the configurations separately for each platform. So yeah, do you have any question before we continue to the next chapter? If not, then we will go on to chapter. Where is my, oh, okay, zoom out a bit. We can go on to chapter 17. So for chapter 17 is to build and release an Android app. And finally, for 18, we continue with iOS. So let's start with the Android one. And let's see what we are going to do. So for before you can upload your app to the Play Store, you need to create a build, a release build. So this is the first step. And second step, you will see what are the things that you need to configure in Play Store when you want to upload. And then finally upload and notify the testers that the build is ready. So let's look at the building part. And here the first section just tells you why you need to build with a release configuration instead of the debug configuration. Because when you are debugging your app, you will notice that, hey, it also runs on my phone, but why I need to have a different build, a different configuration when you want to release for production or you want to upload to your Play Store. And here are the reasons. Because first, you want a smaller app size, and with debug build, because there is a lot of debugging tools and stacks that helps you to check what and where goes wrong. And you will also need that for the hot reload and hot restart. But for release app, then you don't need all those things. That means when you strip down the symbols and the overhead, then your file size will become much smaller. Okay, I saw a question in the chat from Kenya. How many apps? Actually, for work-wise, there's still not many, I think 2 or 3. But personally, I also like built some apps, but I didn't upload them to the Play Store. So this would be something that I could learn from as well. If you have already built something and upload it to Play Store, I have not do that. So yeah, let's continue. Yes, the second reason is you might want a different set of configuration for debug and also production, especially when you have analytics and services API that you need to call, then you want to maintain them separately. And then the third reason is it's not signed. So because debug builds are not signed, you cannot upload them to the Play Store. And yeah, Google says so. So you have to prepare a release build in order to upload it. And now we will see how do we prepare it. Okay, so first part, it asks you to check the manifest file, because here is where you manage where you declare the permissions. So sometimes in the Play Store, when you see the app description, when you want to install an app, it will shows you what are the permissions that is required from you. So here is where you list down all the permission that you need for your app, so that it will be listed in the Play Store and user is aware of that. And also it enables you to ask for permission when the app is running. And so what you need to do is just go to the manifest file and then includes all the permissions that you need in the XML file. And of course, you need to include below the application tag. And I think in almost every app that I see, there is this permission.internet, which means your app needs access to the internet to run. And this is a super common one because let's say if you're making any sort of API call, of course you have already need to include this line. If not, your app will not be able to run properly. And this actually made me got stuck once when I was doing it for the first time. I was wondering why the app doesn't work for the release version. So make sure that you remember to include this line so that your app can run properly. And of course, if you need any extra permissions, you should also include it under this line, such as access to the camera or location or Bluetooth or anything else. All right, so that's for the permission part. And then next we can look at the Gradle file. So when we are writing our Flutter app, we might not care about what is inside the Gradle file. And there is usually a good default Gradle file that is generated for you. So you don't need to write everything from scratch. But there are things that you need to change when you want to prepare your app for production. So what you need to change is under the Android section, you need to change the bundle ID. So this is the bundle ID. And for your app, it might be different. But for this one, because it's their recipe finder app, so they use the website domain. So this part, you can always customize it as long as it doesn't conflict with the other existing name that is exactly the same. So you should use something that is unique to you and your business. And here are some best practices to not use spaces or special characters. And then also you need to check what is the target SDK version that you are deploying. And there are two types of version. One is the min SDK version. The other type is the target SDK version. So if your you need to make sure that whatever target SDK version that you put here, your app can support it. Then in Play Store, they can show that, okay, this app is compatible or not compatible with their the user's device. Okay, let me answer the question afterwards. So before that, let me continue with the signing key. And because just now we said that we cannot upload an unsigned app, so how should we sign it? Well, in Android, you need a key store. So how do you get the key store? Is you need to generate it. So you can generate the key store. And then I think here it also mentioned in details what are the steps to generate. So this is a command line tool that you can run to generate a key store. In this case, the key store name is recipe.jks. And you can specify what are the key types and the key size that you want. But for now, we will just follow everything here. And you can use an alias. So here it uses the recipes as the alias of the key store. And then, yeah, here there's an important note that says you shouldn't upload, you shouldn't commit the key store file to your public repository, because this is an important file that is used to sign and identify your app. So you shouldn't let anyone else to get access to this file. Yeah, so there's a warning here. Make sure that you add this file to git ignore so that you can exclude the key store file from getting committed into Git. And then next part is after you have generated the key, now you can use it. So how do you use it is you can go to your Android folder in the project and create a new file called key.properties. So in the key.properties, here is where you define, okay, what is the store password and the key password. So the password is the one that you provided to the key tool command when you are generating the key store. And then the key alias you can also put here, and finally include the path to the key store file. Okay. Let's see. Right. So the next part is you need to sign the key. You need to sign the app with the key. And then how you do it is you go back to the build.gradle file and go to the Android section. So here is where you include the key.properties file that you have just created in the previous step. So the properties file contains the information to where the key store is located, and also what is the password so that it can use it to sign. And in build.gradle file, you just need to link or have reference to the key.properties file so that, okay, now the Android build.gradle knows that I should look into the key that is defined in the key.properties file, and then after that I load the key. All right. Yeah, and there's also the compile SDK version. And for this one, you should make sure that it is the same as the target SDK version. Finally, you can go to the signing configs section. I think this is already available when you are first generating the build.gradle file. So you just need to go to this section and add this block, the release block. So release block again is pretty straightforward. It's just referring to the file that you have just created and the value that is stored inside the key.properties file. So after defining those, then you can go to the build types. Under the release sections, you just define that, okay, I want to use this signing configs to sign the app for release. Okay, finally, we can now build the app bundle. So again, in this section, it will show you how to build app bundle instead of the APK file that you are familiar with. But because the APK is getting obsolete and Google Play Store will stop accepting the APK file when you are trying to upload to the Play Store. So in this section, it only shows you how you can build the app bundle. But of course, you can always build an APK file by replacing this command with Flutter build APK. But since we want to upload to the Play Store, we should build an app bundle. So okay, yeah, here it mentions why are you building an app bundle instead of an APK. So sometimes APK is still useful if you want to distribute to other stores. Like I'm not sure Huawei store is accepting APK or app bundle. You can check. But like for example, I use the App Center for distributing to testers. So App Center still accepts the APK. So I still use the Flutter build APK command when I want to upload it to the App Center. But otherwise, if you are uploading to the Play Store, I will build the app bundle file. Okay. Now we have arrived at the final step, that is uploading to the Google Play Store. So there are a bunch of things that you need to set up if you haven't done that before. And of course, you will need a Google Play developer account. And this one you need to pay. I forgot how much is the fee, but it's a one-time fee. So I think as an app developer who wants to distribute the app, it's a no-brainer to sign up for the Google Play developer account. And then after that, go to the console. And here it shows you what are the steps you need to do. I will skip these. Assets and description. Yes, so make sure that you have all this ready when you want to upload the app. There is quite a lot of things that you need to provide, including the graphics part. So like sometimes in Play Store, you see like some screenshots. So those are the graphics that you need to provide. Yeah, let me go back to the questions later. So now, yes, here you need to upload your app icon, and you need to make sure that the size matches exactly with the one that they are asking. So if you upload anything other than 512 by 512, they're gonna reject you. And same goes to the app banner. It also requires a specific size. And then screenshots. So if let's say your app is designed for both phones and tablets, then you might want to upload multiple sets of screenshots. So you have one set for the phones, one set for tablets, then you might have different size of tablets. So you can do this, but most of the time, because for me, I only upload I only build for normal phone size, then I would just upload the phone screenshots. Okay, then of course there are some other should I say survey that you need to complete, because they want to make sure that they're showing the apps, they're showing your app to the correct group, to the correct audience. So then you need to specify, is there any ads? Is there any access for privacy setting? Is there any content rating? Is it suitable for children? And who are the target audience? So on. So yes, I am not gonna go through in details. And let's see, yeah, target audience, store presence, is it appealing to children? Is your app for children? If it's not, then you shouldn't choose yes. Blah blah blah. And then set your categories, pricing. Okay, yeah, you'll notice by now the configuration on the Google Play console, it already quite tedious. So before you get your app uploaded to the Play Store, you need to get a lot of things ready. You need to know who is your app's audience, and then who are the age group that is suitable, what are the content that is in your app, and you need to tell Google everything about your app before they approve your apps. And finally, upload the build. So once you have got the things set up, then now you can upload your app bundle. And there are three different levels of testing. So normally when you first upload it, you might not want to push it to the public right away. You might want to, okay, maybe I want to do some internal testing first. And I only allow certain groups of friends or clients. And if you want to do that, you can set it to the internal testing. And then on the higher level, then it goes to the closed testing. Then in this part, it means that users will be able to see, like everyone will be able to see your app on the Play Store, but it's only the test version. They can view the build if they are invited. And finally, there's the open testing. That means that everyone can see, and they can already test, and they can already test your app and provide feedback to you. So these are the three levels of testing. And for each track, there are also some steps that you need to follow. So for the internal testing, first you need to create a new release. And after that, you will need to agree some of the terms. And then upload the app bundle file. Put in the release information. And if your app has multiple language, you will also define different localized release notes under this section. So once you are done, then you can click save and then click review release. So of course, sometimes it's not always smooth sailing. There will be some warning or error. Then you can check in this step what are the things that you are missing, or what are the things that you didn't configure correctly. And if everything is okay, then you can tap on Start Rollout to internal testing. Yes, and here it shows you how you can add the your tester email to the list. Or you can also share them a link. They can join with that. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this is for chapter 17. This is specific to Android. So if you want to build your app and upload it to the Play Store, then you should follow all these steps. And I understand that is quite complicated for first time, but on the subsequent time when you're uploading a new update, then it gets easier from there. So yeah, this is the first step to publicize your Flutter app. And yeah, let's see what are the questions. So I see a lot of questions from Kenyang. Let's start from the permissions. So will it penalize us if we ask permissions for everything? Actually, yes. If you submit your app for review and then you ask for permissions that you don't need, they will not approve your app. So be very sure and be very specific about the permissions that you ask. Don't include more than that. Don't include less than that because they will not approve either. No, then your app will also not run properly because it doesn't gain the permission that it needs. Right, then the second question is emulator that I use. Well, for me, I like to use the Google Pixel emulator because I find it pretty standard. It has most of the features that I want to test with. So yeah, that's my standard emulator. And what else? If we develop Flutter app in Windows, how do we test for iOS build? Well, the answer is you cannot test iOS build if you don't have a Mac machine. That's a sad and cruel fact. That's also how Apple force you to buy their machines and make money from there. So yes, if you want to build for iOS, make sure that you have a Mac machine. I saw that some companies, if they want to go cheap, they can use Mac Mini, or if you want to do like short-term stuff, then you can also rent a Mac server. I think Amazon provides it. So you can rent a Mac server, but per hour basis, I believe. Then you can test your iOS build there. Sharing an account, no, this is not encouraged because then you will most likely share the developer or the creator information, which is not ideal most of the time. And then, do you design your own app icon or do you outsource to a graphic designer? This part, if it's work-related stuff, then because we have dedicated designers, so they will prepare the assets that is required, including the icons, the splash screens, the banners. So yeah, I normally don't do this part on my own, but sometimes for my hobby app, then I might just try to come up with something with Canva or yeah. my deployed apps on Play Store? Well, if you want to see, actually, for my company, we have an app that is in production. So let's see if I can go to the Play Store. So this is a coffee bean delivery app that is servicing the Switzerland area. So if you're in Malaysia, probably you can't find it because it's not available in Malaysia. But I can show you. Oh wait. Oh yeah. This is embarrassing because our app is currently being taken down because Google says that we violated their terms and conditions because we are using the Stripe SDK. We need to update the privacy policy. So this is something that you also need to take note of, like when your terms and conditions doesn't match what Google wants, then you will face something like this. But I will show you what's on the App Store. So yeah, this is the part that you will see in the next chapter when we discuss the steps for the iOS. So sorry about that. I couldn't show you the Google Play part for now, and it will be resolved soon. I hope it wouldn't take too long for Google to resolve this. And next question. Can I volunteer to be a tester? Well, if I have a hobby project, of course, yes, you are very welcome. And do we usually do a penetration test? Yeah, this depends on the security requirement of your app. So normally for financial app, then you want to do a penetration test. But for other types of apps, then I wouldn't say it is really necessary. So it depends. And if there is no more question, then we can proceed to the final chapter, the iOS app. And of course, iOS, the steps are very different from the Android one. And I would say to build for iOS is one of the most difficult thing for me as a Flutter developer, because I wasn't an iOS developer. So there are a lot of new things that I'm not familiar with, like Xcode, test flight, signing, certificates. There are a lot of things that you need to learn for to build for iOS. So in this chapter, we try to cover what are the essential steps that you need if you want to get your app ready to the app for the App Store. Well, here it just answered your question, Kenya. Says you need a Mac with the Xcode installed because Apple. And you will also need a valid Apple Developer Program account. So this is similar to the Google Play developer account. And so for this one, I think it's quite expensive. You need to pay like $99 per year. And once you have it, then you are ready to continue with the rest of the steps. Okay, and then here it says how you can create a signing file. Yeah, again, I don't think I will go through each of the steps here because it's just following the steps. There's not much I could explain. And it even show you how to create the developer program account. And after you have created that, you need to create an app identifier. So an identifier is like the bundle ID that you have created for your Android app. So it's a unique identifier for your app. Then you can register a new app ID. And you can put in the bundle ID here. Make sure it's the same one that you put in your app and your Xcode. And after that, yeah, this is the capabilities part you also need to pay attention to. So if let's say you are using any of the capability here, for example, if you are using the dynamic link from Firebase, then you need to make sure that you have checked the associated domain. And then you register the identifier. Then, yeah, a lot of steps. You also need to set the theme. And the theme is under the signing tab. At first, you have no theme. You will need to create one. And yes, so it says that if you want to sign for this app, you need a developer team. And then after you select it, I think you can it will direct you to sign in, and then after that you can select the team from there. So of course, for App Store, you also need to configure it quite a lot. So for the iOS part, you go to the App Store Connect and then create a new app. There are some agreements like taxes information. Enter your app name, bundle ID, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now you have reached the uploading part. And here, how you can upload it is a bit different because you don't run the generation step. You actually use Xcode to do it for you. And then here, if you want to generate the bundle file that you can upload to the Play Store, you need to go to your Xcode and then select then select this build configuration. And after that, yeah, just follow the steps here. Distribute app. And then after that, you can choose upload so that you can upload to your App Store Connect. So this part is, let's say you are using the signing feature that is in Xcode, then you should choose the automatically managed signing. But I would say for many production app, actually they don't use the automatic signing. They would use their own signing certificates. Then in that case, you need to do separately and you select the manually managed signing. Then in that case, you need to sign your own certificate. And with that, I can suggest a tool called Fastlane. Oops, how do I get rid of this panel? Okay, so Fastlane is a tool that can help you to automate the code signing, app publishing, and so on. So what I normally use is I use Fastlane for code signing. And if you go to this part, then you can see that, okay, there are quite a lot of things you can do with Fastlane. and there are a few commands that you can use. So again, this part is very complicated. I will not go through it in details. So for the sake of this study group, I will just post the link to the website here in the chat. Okay, so you have time. If you have time, you can explore on this part. If you have any question, you can always reach out to me or the Will Code Facebook page. And then, yeah, let's go back to here. There's a certificate that you need to generate. So for in order to sign your app, you need to first have a distribution certificate. And if you don't have one, you can use Xcode to generate one for you. So again, all the steps. And finally, once you have got everything correct, then you can upload the app. And once it's uploaded, then you can find it on the App Store Connect. Then you can check in the console, the App Store Connect console, you can go to the builds. And at first you will see that the build is processing. And after that, it will change the status to ready to submit. And of course, there are some compliance that you need to confirm. So here is mostly just answering some questions for legal purposes. So yeah, then the final step is how do you share it with your testers? Again, in iOS, there are two types of testing. One type is internal and external. So internal is if you want to limit it to specific testers only. Normally, you want to share with your QA, with other developers, with designers, with with your product manager maybe. And for external testing is once you have already get your app ready for the public, then you can put it to external testing and they can do beta testing for you and give you feedback. So again, more steps if you want to configure for testing. Blah, blah, blah. External testing. Okay, and yeah, this is the step that I don't really get it. You need to submit your app for review, and it will take a few days to approve your app for testing. So even though your app is in very early development and you want to let some of your teammates, developers, or QAs to test, you need to submit your app for review. And yes. So just make sure that when you are planning your project delivery, you need to include a few days of buffer for the approval. Because on the first submission, you might get rejected. And then after that, you need to change again and then re-upload again and submit. So it might take a while. And finally, if your app get approved, then your testers will be able to see it on the test flight for testing. And that's it for the iOS part. I would say this part can be easy, can be difficult. Depends on what certificates that you use. If you use the certificate that is generated and managed by Xcode, then it could be easier. If you're using your own certificates, then the steps will be much more complicated. And you will want to use a tool like Fastlane to help you to manage the certificates and the provisioning profiles for iOS. So yes, that's all for chapter 18. Now let's see the chat for question. What about Huawei App Gallery? Yeah, so you can also upload the app there. I'm not sure what do they need, what are steps they need to upload, but I believe the steps will be similar to what you do with the Google Play Store because it's also Android. So I suppose the steps are similar. The steps to prepare the build is definitely the same, just that the Play Store configuration part might be different for the app gallery. And then, yeah, most of the time spent on building the app. Yes, this is something that I find difficult when I first built the app for release, because there are a lot of configuration that you need to do when you want to prepare the app for production. And when you want to comply to the Play Store and the App Store terms, then there are a lot of things that you need to pay attention to. So it's a lot of trial and error. It's okay if your apps get rejected for the first few times. It's pretty normal. Then you make adjustment based on their feedback. Then eventually you should be able to get it running. Yes, thanks Jessica for sharing the link to the guide. You can definitely upload your app that is built with Flutter to Huawei App Gallery and other app store that uses Android. So don't have to worry about that. Okay, that's it. Yeah, sorry about my voice today because I think I caught a cold today. On getting an old Mac machine to test out, yes, why not? Like, it doesn't have to be very chunky, very advanced. You just need something that is Mac, and then as long as it can build for iOS, then you are good to go. Of course, don't get something that is too old, then you might not be able to build for the latest iOS version. Yeah, so I guess that's it for today's session. So we are approaching the end, and now what's left is the Firebase part. So next week, Howard will be sharing on chapter 19 on Firebase, and we'll be having on same time on Monday. And yeah, happy have a good week and take care, everyone. Jessica, do you have anything to add or announcement? No? Okay. Then yeah, have fun, everyone. Come back next week. Yes, I will create a new PTX event for next week. So make sure to sign up for that one. We will be meeting for the year of 2021 one last time. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. See you.